Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the quick update and tactical analysis or strategic analysis in the region of the Piski region. So this area here, this is Piski, and the latest development or the most important development is the capture of Opytne by the Russian forces. So Opytne has being fought over for months, where the Russian forces attack from Spartak, and then they also attack from the airport region, moving up. The Ukrainians have been trying very hard to to counter attack and then moving this way, and they have all this defense line around all this region, which they are unable to hold. Eventually, with the superior artillery and a flamethrower from the Russian side, they are able to push the Ukrainians back. And the Russians have been pushing up, and they have already break through to Vodyane, and fighting is now raging around the eastern part of Vodyane. So let me rub off this one, maybe it's not so accurate. And so the Russians have been pushing through this gap here. So there's this gap here, the Russians are already pushing outwards in this way from this gap. And there is also the threat because of the capture of Opytne. The latest information is that the northern outskirts around here has been already captured and secured. So the Russian forces is likely to push outwards, and most likely they are going to pincer the Ukrainian forces over at the eastern side of Vodyane, and this is likely to force a withdrawal of the Ukrainian forces northward towards Giverny, and this is not going to be a very good thing for the Ukrainians, because getting attacked from both sides is not exactly an ideal thing to happen to you. And they are able to hold this part, but this tiny gap here, the Russians can go through. They already blocked, but if the Russians choose not to go directly and they choose to go behind them in this way, then this force can get encircled. So the Ukrainian command will have a very hard decision to make regarding the situation here at Vodyane, whether they need to redraw. But redrawing is also not very ideal, because this is actually a much more defendable position than somewhere here which is out in the open. But there isn't really a lot of choices for the Ukrainian forces. And the Russian forces over the Pervomaiske region continue to push, and they are pushing through this gap. There's this ground opening here between the two lakes. They are also trying to push there. And at the situation in Nevelske, the Russians are pushing from three different directions. They are pushing from the south, from the southeast, and from the eastern side. This is the situation here, and reportedly they have been really successful. This area here is called the basin, where the Russian forces recently had just secured, and the Ukrainians are still holding up a defense in this area here. There's one defense line maybe around here, and there's one much nearer to the south. They are currently holding this position, and the Russian forces continue to push towards this position with armor artillery support. So this is the current overall picture, and there is also occasional fighting reported at Kayamske, where the Russian forces is trying to push this direction, and sometimes we do have report of fighting at Avdiivka, which I believe is on the southern side or the south eastern side of Avdiivka, but this usually do not really do much, as the Ukrainians have very strong defenses here, and the Ukrainians are not going to be easily defeated in this region. Oops, I should draw it better, because this is going to be the thumbnail. And as you can see, there's this high-rise area here. It's a bit blur, but this is high-rise area, so this will represent another Vuleda situation, where it's really hard to defeat, and they have a very huge sight over the entire area here. They can actually see very far and provide fire support this way. So not so easy to capture Avdiivka, as this is a fortress city. and there's also strong defenses over at the industrial area in the northern part of Avdiivka, where this is where a lot of the military installations and camps and artillery is actually fired from. So this is actually a very hard point, a very difficult place to capture, and of course the urban city is going to be very difficult. So the Russian forces is not very interested to just go straight in into Avdiivka. Currently there is fighting reported in the northern part around here, where the Russian forces is moving this direction. Is very interesting, and if you look at the bigger picture, you can see that it's actually part of a much bigger pincer, where the Russians are trying to go around like this and encircle Avdiivka. So the fall of Opytne is a big problem, because then the Russians are able to push northward and start to cut off the communication route to Avdiivka. All these roads will not be able to be used, and then they will be that means the Ukrainian forces will be stuck with this northern and the northwestern part roads for communication and reinforcement. All this area here will be the remaining places where they can reinforce, and should the Russians able to cut off all these communication positions or all these roads, then it will mean the end of Avdiivka, and it will be an effective encirclement of Avdiivka city. This city cannot fall for the Ukrainian side. If this falls, this entire region here will be in deep trouble. So yeah, I see this as a pivotal for the Ukrainians to hold, and the Ukrainians know. So which is why the Ukrainians have been pushing a lot of reinforcement towards Vodyane to try to hold the position, and they continue to fight back at Pervomaiske, bringing reinforcement and fighting back, and they are also trying their best to reinforce Nevelske, to try to hold these positions as much as they can, because losing all these positions would mean that the Ukrainian forces have to fall back to Avdiivka or Nevelske, and this is not ideal for the Ukrainian forces, as it would then push them further away from the Donetsk city. So anyway, this is the strategic analysis or tactical analysis of the Pervomaiske region, as well as a quick update of the situation over at this area. I hope you find this interesting, and I'll see you in the next update.